Well, hey everybody, welcome to Harvest.247 here on YouTube. We're so glad that wherever you are watching from and whenever you are watching that you're making us a part of your day. If you could do us a favor as we zoom towards 750 subscribers, you could click that subscribe button for us. And that way you can find all of our content anytime we upload something, which is every single week. And so we are starting a new sermon series called The Villains of Christmas. It's meant to be a little lighthearted, but also really practical in dealing with some of the villains that steal Christmas and what are the attitudes and behaviors that steal Christmas that you may engage with. Maybe it's with family, maybe it's with friends, maybe it's with people you work with, or maybe it's yourself. So Harvest Church exists so that all people may know Jesus and grow with Him. There's a couple other ways you can follow us and subscribe and like. If you could just head over to Facebook and Instagram, Harvest.247. We would love for you to check out those pages as well. And you can check out Behind the Harvest podcast, which is on Google Play, and it is also on Apple Podcasts. We'd love for you to check out that. We've got a lot of stuff on the end times and some things that are going on now, so we'd love for you to tune in there. So there are three things that you do not do to a mogwai. The first is that you do not expose it to water. The second is that you do not expose it to light. And the third, and this is extremely important, you do not feed it after midnight, no matter how hungry they are. That is found in Gremlins, the movie of 1984. And in this movie, you will see this little mogwai pop up here on your screen. Just a cute, cuddly figure. This mogwai was given to a son of an inventor in the movie. Where he had traveled to the Far East and brought this mogwai back. It's just like this nice pet, cute, cuddly, kind of like your puppy. Now, the central point of Gremlins is this: it's responsibility. And what happens in this movie is that the person that owns this mogwai, this gift, does not take responsibility for those three things that we laid out. And what we find is that due to the lack of responsibility on the part of the owner, it creates a situation where the mogwai, this cute, cuddly creature, turns into this, a gremlin. So there are consequences in the movie for not taking responsibility of the mogwai in the same way that there are consequences in our life when we don't take responsibility for our certain circumstances, with our issues, with our past, with our behavior, and then all of a sudden we turn into gremlins. Or maybe somebody that you're about to see is going to turn into, this holiday season is going to turn into a gremlin. And here's what we know. Gremlins create chaos. In the movie, once the mogwais turn into gremlins, they destroy the whole town. They create massive amounts of chaos. And the gremlins in our lives, whether they're other people or whether it's us, create chaos. When I was a kid, we would go over to my aunt's house and we would have Christmas on Christmas Eve. And it was always a fun time. But my aunt didn't really take care of her gremlins really well. And I remember this one particular Christmas, she did not take care of her gremlins. She began to drink a lot, and all of a sudden, our Christmas turned into chaos because plates were being thrown, knives were being thrown, and there was just a lot of chaos and honestly unnecessary chaos that happened that Christmas. Needless to say, we never went back after that Christmas because we did not want to engage with chaos. Some of you guys may be able to relate to that story. And as we're getting ready to travel, maybe it's for Thanksgiving or travel for Christmas, or we got family coming to visit us, or we're going to visit family, whatever that looks like, or maybe we're having office parties or whatnot, we all have experienced gremlins. You work with some gremlins, people that you're like, man, I don't want to set them off because all of a sudden we're going to have chaos in our meeting or our sales meeting today. They live in your home. They could be toddlers, or they could be grown-ups. And you say, I don't want them to create chaos because they're about to do that, so I'm not going to set them off. Maybe you go to church with them, and you just know that person sitting across the aisle or sitting across the pew, or the person that you know, man, I don't want to set them off because they're about to turn into a gremlin. Or maybe they reside in your neighborhood. Sometimes you see them in strangers. And coming soon, Thanksgiving and Christmas, you're going to see them as well. And sometimes you see gremlins in the mirror. And you know, man, I'm a gremlin, and I have the tendency or the ability to create chaos. Well, there's actually something that's kind of enlightening. There's something called gremlin behavior. You may have never heard that. Gremlin behavior is this. It refers to a set of behaviors and strategies a person uses in a situation to survive life. It's some sort of defense mechanism. They're automatic. Oftentimes they're unconscious, and they have been created over time through various experiences. And here's the key. It is a way to avoid responsibility. When we talk about Gremlins, the movie is all about responsibility. Gremlin behavior is a way to avoid all responsibility. Maybe it's responsibility for a hurt that you caused someone. Maybe it's responsibility for having some sort of job or some sort of expectation. But gremlin behavior is a way to unconsciously, subconsciously avoid responsibility. And so here's some descriptors of it. Gremlin behavior can be passive aggressive. Gremlin behavior can be undermining. That means to confuse the person and results leaving them questioning themselves. Gremlin behavior can be stonewalling, meaning to block or resist intentionally. Gremlin behavior can be acting clueless. Have you ever invited somebody and then they didn't show up, or you asked them to do something and they didn't do it, and all of a sudden you confront them on it and they say, oh, I didn't even know. Oh my gosh, I was so unclear. That can be gremlin behavior. And then of course it's gaslighting as well. It's to cause another person to doubt him or herself through the use of psychological manipulation. So gremlin behavior is all about avoiding responsibility. And for you and I, in order to handle gremlin behavior, in order to have a healthy life, in order to have those types of things, we either have to deal with our own gremlin behavior, or we have to understand how to deal with other people's gremlin behavior. And you might be saying, man, the Bible doesn't talk about gremlin behavior. Like the Apostle Paul never wrote about gremlin behavior. Jesus never said something about gremlin behavior. Well, maybe not exactly using the term gremlin behavior, but they did use language. And the Apostle Paul does write about people who cause division and cause chaos in other people's lives. And he actually gives us some action steps on how to handle that. And it's found in Romans 16, 17 through 18. And this is what the Apostle Paul writes. And he's writing to the Christian church in Rome, and this is what he says. He says, I appeal to you, their brothers, meaning brothers and sisters, all of them, to watch out. It's the first word. Watch out for those who cause divisions and create obstacles contrary to the doctrine that you have been taught. Avoid them. So he's saying people who create this chaos, people who create division, people who try to manipulate doctrine and manipulate words. He says this, watch out and avoid them. Verse 18, for such persons do not serve the Lord Jesus. Like straight up, they do not serve Jesus, but their own appetites. Remember, gremlin behavior is all about avoiding responsibility. It's all about, I don't want to be caught into that. I don't want to have that responsibility. So they serve their own appetites, and by smooth talk and flattery, they deceive the hearts of the naive. So gremlin behavior, whether it's being passive aggressive, whether it's gaslighting, whether it's avoiding responsibility altogether, whether it's acting clueless, they're bringing about a level of deception. I don't know if we ever had that conversation. Oh, I don't think you ever nailed down those details. Oh, I don't think you ever asked me. They're trying to create deception, and oftentimes it causes division, which creates chaos. So here's the thing. If gremlin behavior is all about avoiding responsibility, if we're going to deal with our own gremlin behavior, if we're going to deal with other people's gremlin behavior, then it has to do something with responsibility. So here's the kind of main point of the message. Taking responsibility for our gremlins ensures that our gremlins don't take us. So it has nothing to do with anybody else does. It has everything to do with how we respond to what other people do, how we respond in certain circumstances. It's taking that responsibility. I always tell my boys, you can never control what happens to you. You can only control how you respond. So when we think about gremlin behavior and we think about whether we have gremlin behavior or whether other people that we come in contact with have gremlin behavior, the only person we can control is ourselves, and the only thing we can do is take responsibility to ensure that our gremlins do not consume and take over us, and we be the person that creates chaos, or we are the person that allows chaos to happen in our life. So the Apostle Paul gives us some things to do in verse 17. The first thing he says is, he says, watch out. He says, watch out. And what we're going to do in each of these kind of points is we're going to talk about internally and we're going to talk about externally. Because gremlin behavior can affect us personally, and gremlin behavior can be seen in other people that can also affect us. So what do we do internally and what do we do externally? So the first thing he says is, he says, you got to watch out. Meaning, internally, watching out means you got to recognize your inner gremlin behavior and admit it. Does your behavior try to avoid responsibility? Does it undermine, stonewall, marginalize, or gaslight? If there are these tendencies, I'm just going to tell you, in your life, you got to watch out. If you struggle with taking personal responsibility and saying, yep, that was my fault. Yep, that's on me. Yep, I was wrong. Yes, I apologize. I'm seeking your forgiveness. If you struggle with those things, then internally, you probably got some gremlins. When you use any of these behaviors or similar versions, you have to recognize them, take responsibility for them, if you're going to have any luck in shutting down gremlins. Because here's the problem. If you've got gremlins internally, the only thing you're doing is creating chaos for everybody around you. And if you are unaware of that, it's time to get self-aware. After all, you can pray and say, hey, Jesus, it's Christmas time. Can you give me the presence of self-awareness? Right? So that's internal. We have to recognize it. Externally, it's easy to see in other people. So what do? Well, Paul says you got to watch out for these people. Like, you got to be on guard. He doesn't say don't love them. He doesn't say cast them out. He doesn't say that. He says watch out. So do other people's behavior undermine, stonewall, marginalize, or gaslight? If so, watch out. So I had this friend in Dallas, and I really thought that they were a good friend, a close friend, that they loved me and that they felt like I loved them as well. And one of the things that happened one night, my friend's girlfriend texted myself and the other pastor of our church plant at that time and said, hey, so-and-so's gone missing. This person's gone missing. And so, of course, we were concerned. So we started to text him. We started to call him. No response, no response, no response. And we knew based on his business account the areas that he would stay in. So we began to go from one Marriott to other Marriott all throughout all of Dallas. And there's a lot of Marriotts all over the place looking for him. We would text him. We would call him. We would send him a picture. Hey, we're at this Marriott. Where are you? No response. So about 3 a.m, we went home, went to sleep, and woke up with a text message that said, if I was your kid, you would have stayed out all night looking for me. You must not care about me. Now, that is a red flag. Because that person clearly is creating gremlin behavior, undermining, gaslighting, right? Being passive aggressive. And so all of a sudden I had to understand what Paul was saying is I had to watch out for this person. They would go to our church and they were in our friend circle and all these types of things. And we had to understand that, like, when we looked at this person's personal life, their business life, their family life, that they were the common denominator of all of the issues and that they created chaos everywhere. And so it became a situation where if they were not going to take responsibility, if this friend was not going to take responsibility for his gremlin behavior, guess what? I had to take responsibility. And I had to begin to put up some boundaries and put up some walls. And when they would text me with this kind of passive-aggressive messages, I would just delete it and stop reading it. When they would do that in the email, I would just delete it and not read it. When I would see them in the public, I would be nice, but I would not hang out with them anymore. And I had to watch out for it. And I had to understand how that gremlin behavior was creating chaos, not just in mine and his relationship, not just in his business and not just his family, but I had to understand that if he's not going to take responsibility for it, I had to. And one of the ways that I could do that is by watching out and being aware and taking responsibility of that gremlin, right? Because taking care of our responsibilities or taking responsibility for our gremlins ensures that our gremlins don't take us. And it would be very easy in that scenario for his gremlin behavior to take me, to make me feel awful, to make me feel beat down, to make me feel like I wasn't a good friend, to make me feel guilty. But I had to take responsibility for it. Paul says this, you got to watch out. If you have gremlin behavior, you're creating chaos. And so you got to watch out internally. And if there are other people that have gremlin behavior in your sphere, right, in your neighborhood, in your family, in your place of business, in your friend circle, you got to also watch out and take responsibility by putting up some boundaries. The next thing he says in verse 17 is this, is he says to avoid them. So if we're talking about gremlins internally, taking responsibility means avoiding those gremlins. It means avoiding the behaviors that exude gremlin behavior. It means understanding how we respond to certain circumstances and situations and taking responsibility and saying, I am now going to take steps to not respond in this way. Because here's what I know, when I respond passive aggressively, when I respond by not taking responsibility, when I respond by saying, well, I don't know that we ever had that conversation. When I respond that way, I recognize that I'm creating chaos amongst people, in my family, in my place of business, in my friend circle. So I have to avoid that and figure out ways, whether it be through counseling, whether it be through self-growth, whether it be through prayer, whatever it is, I have to take responsibility and avoid those types of behaviors. Personally, when something happens, my first response is always anger. It always has been, it always will be. And one of the things that I had to do is I had to recognize that I couldn't just give full vent to my emotions every time I got angry. So I had to put in and take some responsibility and put in some boundaries myself to say, you know what, instead of responding with anger, I need to step back and wait a couple of hours before I respond to that text. I need to step back and wait a day before I respond to that email. I need to step back and really pray and process. And I had to take responsibility for that so that I could avoid those behaviors. And if we have internal gremlins, we have to do the exact same thing. But what about external? Well, guess what? We have to limit our exposure to them. We have to avoid that. We have to avoid those circumstances. We have to avoid those people. We have to limit our exposure. That doesn't mean that you're never going to be able to see your boss again and that you need to quit. It doesn't mean that you're never going to be able to go and visit your mom again or that she can never come see you. It doesn't mean that you can never hang out with those friends again. It just means that we have to take steps and take responsibility and say, I'm going to avoid and limit my exposure to people that externally have gremlin behavior, that gaslight me, that are passive aggressive, right? That don't take responsibility, right? Because if they're not going to take responsibility, we have to, because taking responsibility for our gremlins ensures that our gremlins don't take us. And finally, Paul says this in verse 18. He says, don't be deceived. We can't be deceived. We can't be deceived internally with our gremlins we can't be deceived to thinking that is healthy behavior. Because gremlin behavior is not healthy. It's not healthy for us personally, and it's not healthy for the people that we come in contact with. So we have to gain some self-awareness. We have to step back and do some stuff and evaluate, all right, when I respond this way, am I really being a gremlin? And then we have to deal with our issues. We either need to grow and mature, and just honestly just grow up and be better. Do we need to grow in some emotional strength, emotional EQ, right? Do we need to get some counseling to help us? Do we need to get some people around us to begin to pray and say, hey, I have this behavior. I need you to help me with that. I need you to pray. And so that's one thing. Don't be deceived. And externally, we can't be deceived either. Because sometimes when people have gremlin behavior, and they are gaslighting us, and they are being passive aggressive, and they're making us doubt that we even had conversations or things like that. What that's doing is it's trying to be deceptive to avoid responsibility. And so it's trying to deceive. It's like a child, right? Like you say to a child, you can't have candy, but you promised me. I have a kid, and he'll say, but you promised that. I'm like, I never said that ever, ever. He's being a gremlin. I had another family member, and this is a sad story. It's a painful story, but it is a true story. And it's of my grandmother. My grandmother, as she got older, she became a gaslighter. She became someone that was passive aggressive. She became someone that had gremlin behavior. It was a defense mechanism for a lack of responsibility that she took with a younger child, like years and years and years ago. And what I realized is that her communication to me turned into gremlin behavior by trying to make me feel guilty for certain things and gaslighting and all that stuff. And so I had to understand that I couldn't be deceived by her communication. That if she would send me a letter or send me an email or whatnot, that if I read through it, I couldn't be deceived by what she was communicating. There may be a grain of truth here or there, but she was trying to be deceptive and making me believe that it was my fault for her situation, even though when her situation started, I wasn't even born. And so we cannot be deceived when we're have external gremlins communicating to us, sending us text messages, using guilty behavior, and I began to learn that by reading the book Boundaries. And I recognized, wait a second, that's a guilty statement. Wait a second, that's an untruth statement. Wait a second, she can say that to me, but I don't have to internalize it. I don't have to be like, oh my gosh, you're right. It's all my fault. I don't have to do that. So we have to take responsibility, and we have to not be deceived when we're dealing with external gremlins, right? Because taking care of our gremlins, whether they're internal or external, ensures that our gremlins don't take us. And the sad part about it is that some of you are dreading Christmas because you are going to be around people that have gremlin behavior. Some of you are dreading Christmas because when you get on the road and you go visit someone in West Virginia or in Ohio or New York or Colorado or Alabama or wherever you go, or if you just go across town and you're going to visit a grandma or a grandpa or an uncle or whatever, that they are going to be gremlins. They have always been gremlins, and they create chaos. Guys, we have gremlins in our family. They have always created chaos. And you hate to be around them. It's almost like if you get there and your grandmother says, well, so-and-so, your aunt ain't coming today, or your sister's not coming, you're like, oh, we can have a good Christmas. Guys, we can't let gremlins steal the joy and the peace and the anticipation and expectation that Christmas brings, where Jesus was born, Emmanuel, God with us, and we get to celebrate that reality. We get to celebrate that truth of His first Advent and be like, man, the Prince of Peace has come. The Savior has come. But so oftentimes, the gremlins that we either deal with personally, internally, or externally steal Christmas. And that's why it's a villain. That's why being a gremlin is a villain, because it'll steal Christmas. So this year, I just want you to know, you cannot make progress with gremlins, whether it's internal or whether it's external. Gremlins seek to cover up who you really are. They seek to cover up who other people really are. They block access to things that really matter in your life, like relationships and intimacy and community. You can't get around them. You only have to take responsibility for them. Remember, there's 3 things you don't do to a mogwai. Don't feed it after midnight. Don't expose it to light. And you don't expose it to water. Because when you don't take responsibility for it, it turns into a gremlin, and gremlins create chaos. We have internal gremlins. We experience gremlins. So taking responsibility for our gremlins ensures that our gremlins don't take us. So don't allow it to this Christmas season. Hey, Merry Christmas. God bless you.